one more role play. And this is, you were John Philip Sousa. You warned them. You wrote The Menace of Mechanical Music in 1906, predicting that machines would ruin the human connection of live performance. You fought to establish that music is as property that must be paid for. Now you stand in the 21st century looking at a world flooded with what the author calls type 3 music, functional, soulless background noise generated by AI to fill silence. You see that there is more music than ever, but individual songs are worth pennies. In your monologue, you may choose to deliver your I told you so rant against the flood of mediocrity, explaining why putting the music in a bottle was the first step towards destroying the livelihood of the musician. Or you may admit that you were wrong and marvel at all the creativity that has been unleashed. Or both. It's up to you. Tanya, over to you.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. I did not wake up one morning afraid of AI. I was afraid of something much smaller. I watched modernity arrive one convenience at a time. The phonograph, the radio, the promise that effort could be replaced with access, that presence could be replaced with transmission, that experience could be replaced with consumption. Each step seemed harmless, useful, even humane. At first, nothing seemed lost. There was more music than ever. It was better, easier to make, easier to access. But over time, I realized that we never asked what these technologies were doing to us. We focused only on what they were doing for us. And that's how we ended up here. When people speak today about the risk of artificial intelligence, I notice they fall into denial almost immediately. I recognize it because I have lived it myself. The first denial is control. The belief that this must be limited, regulated, constrained, that if we legislate hard enough, build enough kill switches, cancel enough heretics, we can put this genie back in the bottle. I tried this myself. I fought for royalties, for authorship rights, for legal friction. I thought we could win with better rules. The bitter truth is that prohibition never works. Not with alcohol, not with drugs, and not with technologies that deliver pleasure and convenience. You cannot make people give up a cheap, reliable source of pleasure or relief, especially people with the power to ignore the rules. The second denial is worship. The belief that AI will become a loving, benevolent God upon us, that it will understand us better than we understand ourselves, guide us toward outcomes that we could have never managed on our own. AI is not being trained to love us. It is being trained to please us, to generate catchy tunes, sexy waifus, and high benchmark scores. It doesn't care about truth or meaning as long as we give it 5 stars. Which brings me to beetles. In Australia, there's a jewel beetle that finds its mate using a simple rule: brown, shiny, dimpled. For millions of years, that rule has worked perfectly. And then humans made beer bottles. The beetles followed their rule as faithfully as ever, and it led them to death. The bottle triggered the response while bypassing the context that once made it safe. These beetles are us. AI perfects signals that once reliably pointed toward meaning, belonging, survival, and it delivers them without the cost that once kept them in balance. Art and music are merely the weakest victims, canary in the gold mine. Relationships and sanity are next. So, the enemy we face is not the machine. It is our own nature lost in an environment it was never designed for. AI is just a mirror stripping away the fig leaf that once concealed our jewel beetle attraction to dopamine drips without consequence. Most people will not be able to resist these systems, and we cannot moralize them out of it. It's not their fault, it's pure statistics. And we do not have the time to let generational shift absorb the change. Signal is too strong, and we are utterly unprepared. Natural selection does not favor organisms that starve themselves to death in euphoria or wither from nihilistic depression, which means the burden of evolution falls on us in this lifetime, here and now. We must design everyday environments where reward requires integration, not rules, not whips, not houses of worship to a dear model in the cloud. We must change ourselves to adapt to this new habitat, to coexist with intensity with the flood of information, with the hijacking of our emotions. We must learn to distrust our desire for righteousness without contradiction, for happiness without merit, for status without responsibility, for reward without sacrifice, because these are precisely the brown, shiny beer bottles, and AI shall serve them up in abundance. The only way out is through. We must use all our might, all our technologies at our disposal to evolve faster than the dopamine drips we are building. And we must figure out how to extend that evolution to everyone else, or we'll perish.
Thank you, Tanya. Excellent. We'll invite Lucas for any reactions and then anything from Corey.
Oh man. We'll start with Tanya. So Tanya, I like many people in this reading group, I once gave a TEDx talk, and uh one of the tentative was don't mate with beer bottles. And I really wanted to include the jewel beetle in this book. I couldn't quite get it in there. I ended up doing something about cats. I don't remember what it was, but I love that story and I love that metaphor. And I think you really kind of nailed the voice of John Philip Sousa also. But both of these last ones really kind of got into the characters. So Sousa wrote this. Sousa, for those of you who don't know, was has performed to more people than Beyonce. He was the most popular performer really ever. He used to do whistle stop tours where he would perform in the back of a train at a town and then just go to the next town and stay in the same train and just perform. He'd do 3, 4 towns a day. He was incredibly popular and he wrote this big, huge essay about, the menace of mechanical music. But his problem with it was not philosophical. His problem was that he wasn't getting paid for it. And that is, why he started. That's why he was started ASCAP, et cetera, and became a proponent for music royalties and for publishers' rights and for composers' rights. I think one of the things that you nailed was the reaction to technology by the music business. And I put it a little bit differently. It's step one is denial. It's the stages of grief, really. Step one is denial, pretend it doesn't exist. Step two is righteous indignation. We don't want our fans listening to our music on the internet. Step three is try to sue it out of existence. That's bargaining. And step four is figure out how to make it profitable and pretend you invented it. You could be forgiven for thinking that the labels invented streaming today. It is their main source of revenue. So I really loved what you did there.